It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
High fly ball, right field. Grossman back, track, wall, see ya! Into the second deck. A grand slam the other way for Aaron Judge, and the Yankees are pouring it on.
For the latest news throughout the sports world, tune in to Sports Talk with R&J every Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Rocky Hill Accountants offers a unique, low-pressure approach to professional and personal services, which is why they have an excellent client retention rate and are extremely proud of the high-quality services that their firm provides. The executive team at Rocky Hill Accountants has over 35 years of combined experience in income tax preparation, bookkeeping, accounting, and IT crypto tax. They specialize in individual income tax preparation, as well as trusts, estates, and gift tax returns. The tax deadline for individuals is May 17th. If you're one of the 50 million Americans who still hasn't filed, visit RockyHillAccountants.com.
Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clover Crest, top three corner man, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, lock it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut, got you missing weight, feet are stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint from a feint. Take a stand and eight, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing, counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bring in crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry, it's curtains. From scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts, cause the best combat podcast is Throwing Jabs.
Hello and welcome to Throwing Jabs Combat Sports Podcast. Let's start it off by saying, Jared, that is amazing.
Fire.
Who was that guy?
Fire, the kids say. That's what they would be calling that. Fire.
Yeah, we're sick. That was sick. But I am Big J, joined by Joe Guire and Jared Jones. We got a lot to talk about. Big past couple weeks in the lightweight division. Starting off, recapping UFC 262 as Charles Oliveira finishes Michael Chandler second round to win the vacant UFC lightweight championship. Joe, what'd you think of it, and how long is Charles Oliveira going to be at the top of this lightweight division?
Well, I'll say this about Charles Oliveira. The turnaround that we've seen in this guy since the fight with Paul Felder, where he literally tapped due to elbows. And my concern with him was, he had been submitted, guillotined by Ricardo Lamas, Anthony Pettis. I didn't like it. For a guy who is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu master to be tapping, and those were quick taps in all those occasions. And I thought, I don't know. I questioned his heart, and you guys got mad at me. I don't know if you guys remember that. This was some time ago.
Not you guys. No, Jace, I think was you guys were both kicking at him a little bit when he was getting ready to fight Ferguson.
Yeah. I really did question this guy. I'm sold now. I mean, this guy's business, all business when he's in the ring. And I mean, he looked better than Michael Chandler did, plain and simple. My knowledge of Michael Chandler is he usually loses the first fight and then he'll come back and beat you a year later. So I'd expect to see these two tangle again and probably see Michael Chandler do something different. But yeah, Charles Oliveira right now is the best lightweight in the world. I love Dustin Poirier. I love Justin Gaethje. I just think right now this guy's going to be really tough to beat. So whoever gets him next, good luck, because he can beat you standing up now. He could beat you on the ground, submit you. He's the full package right now. And without Khabib in this division, boy, there's a big opening for that guy. And he seems to be the one, Jared, that I think has the skill set to run this for a bit.
Yeah, I wanted to know if this was still fun for you guys. Like, is it fun or is it frustrating? I mean, when you're talking to somebody else, are you like, man, there's this kid on my podcast that just calls every fight? Or is it like, man, there's this kid on my podcast, he calls every, is it frustrating or is it fun?
Hey, first off, I want to say I never said anything bad about Charles Oliveira's heart. The one thing I remember taking offense to when you was Charles Oliveira being the better 6-point striker than Tony Ferguson during that fight. But he's proved that he's a step ahead. And this was great for him. There is only
He's right so infrequently, Jared. Of course he remembers.
This I think is the perfect showing of why UFC is better than boxing right now. Because everyone's chasing that O. And Charles Oliveira, he got beat. He lost to Paul Felder. He went down to the depths, hit rock bottom, and came back up, and now he's champion. Well,
if you're
meanwhile,
watching
in
the
boxing,
numbers,
everyone's chasing that O.
If you're watching the numbers, it's easier to figure out why MMA is more exciting than boxing. Because in boxing, you have one Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez fight, and the whole rest of the card is like minus 2,000. You look at the MMA card today, and the biggest favorites are like minus 400, minus 350. On that boxing card, you have like minus 20,000 favorites. Like, there's more chance of the guy having a heart attack on his way to the ring than losing to the other guy he's fighting. It's just not going to happen. So to Oliveira, though, Ferguson fought right before him, fought Dariush. I remember doing this when we talked about Oliveira and Ferguson 3 fights ago for both of them. Oliveira's won all of those fights. Ferguson lost all of those fights. One of them on the way up, another one on the way down. I said it a long, long time ago, and this was just for both of these fights were just further evidence. Dariush did his as least exciting impression of a fighter as he could do and got the win, and Oliveira did his most exciting impression of himself and stopped Chandler. And hey, he's fun to watch, and like you said, he's well-rounded, Joe. This guy's dangerous. Anybody he gets in the cage with.
See, I don't want to be that guy because I have.
You're always that guy.
Yeah,
no, I know.
Always.
But I don't want to disrespect Charles Oliveira because he's great. He's obviously has a championship. But now you look at the other guys at the top. This shouldn't have been the title fight. I think you have Poirier and Gaethje are at the top of that division, and I don't think any one of these two deserved that title fight. So, how do you see Oliveira matching up with those two? Joe?
Dangerous. Anybody he gets in the cage with, he's dangerous.
My brother put this in the comments. I think he'll wrestle well against Gaethje. He doesn't match up particularly well against Dustin Poirier, and I would agree with that. I still think right now, I think he could beat either guy. I don't love that. I mean, to be honest, I think Poirier is the best lightweight in the world. That's my honest feeling. He should have been fighting this fight against one of these guys for the championship. That should have happened. Dude, the way he destroyed McGregor, the 4th round knockout of Gaethje. You know, there's every reason to think that Dustin Poirier is the guy that should have been fighting for this belt. He wanted to fight McGregor again for some dough. Knock yourself out. You know, the people of Uganda will be well served by the money that Dustin Poirier makes. That's fantastic. People will be drinking fresh water. He should have been in this championship fight.
Fair. Oliveira beats him. None of us are shocked.
Yeah.
I want to call it right here today. And this, mind you, this is one of my favorite guys out right now. You asked me the most exciting fighter in the world right now. This is one of the first names that's going to come out of my mouth. I saw like his third or fourth fight. I think he had 7 or 8 before he even made the UFC. I started following his career very, very early on. He was on the same card with a guy named Nick Newell, who fights with one arm. Look him up if you don't know him. He's a monster.
From Connecticut.
Yeah, from CT too. So that's where I found Justin Gaethje. And this guy's fighting style, if you're paying attention, if you're grown, conditioned, experienced, he is going to experience a major Iceman Chuck Liddell-esque fall off in the very near future. You're going to see Gaethje fall from that elite level to that next level and keep fighting those elite level guys. There's just, when you drive your car like that, you ever see Days of Thunder? You can't get the same amount of tread out of the tires when you drive your car like that. So I love that Gaethje's in this conversation. I don't see him being in it a year or 2 from now. Remember I said that.
Okay. I think the fight to make is Gaethje versus Oliveira, just because that is going to be that's a fight of the century-esque fight. The
Get
way
your
those
popcorn
two,
ready.
yes, they're going to that's just going to be bloody and amazing, and that's that gladiator type stuff, and I need to see that fight. And look at what's going on with lightweight division. We got two sides of what's good and what's bad for combat sports. Bad as Poirier chasing the money fight with McGregor, and then you got this guy, Charles Oliveira, who lost to a guy like Paul Felder. In boxing, I'm going to bring it back to that. You got guys on the come up when they're on their way to get to even close to the title. They're fighting guys that they pick up in like a Home Depot parking lot to just beat up and get another win on their record. And now Paul Felder, I said what I said about Paul Felder, like you're losing to a commentator, but he's still a good fighter. He's fought some of the best in both featherweight and lightweight. So like when you fight talent at that level, you're going to get losses, but it's how you come back from the losses.
That's not even it. Who's Rustico Torres-Campo? Rustico Torres-Campo. Anybody? No? Here's the rest of the people on that list. Let's see if you can get it. Boonsai Segura, Eric Morales, Tim Bradley Jr., Juan Manuel Marquez, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Jeff Horn should be the dead giveaway. These are people who beat Manny Pacquiao. That first one, I wouldn't have gotten it either. I just looked it up over here in my other window. It happens. And when I think about the Paul Felder fight, you know what you reminded me of talking about that, Joe, is the Iceman Scully, John Iceman Scully interview we did a couple weeks back, where he talked about a fight that he lost, that he kind of walked away from. And he described his whole 24 hours in detail and said, I wasn't going to let the game beat me. It looked like he was outmatched, outworked, and walked away from the fight. It looked funny for a fan. But when you hear the story of the weight cut and not being right and thinking I'm fit as a fiddle, and then finally getting on the scale and going, oh shit, and then cutting all that weight and knowing you're not right and in and out of consciousness and all of this stuff, and then get in the ring and you're like you're underwater, you just don't have it. And then say, I'm not going to let the game beat me. And when you hear it like that, it's all those parts of the game that you don't regularly think about. So I saw these things in Oliveira, and then he had his Rustico Torres-Campo fight with Felder, where he just didn't have it. But was it Tony Ferguson? I don't have it, and I'm not going to be able to make the adjustment because I'm a little bit older and lost a step. Or one of those John Scully days where the game wore him out and he tapped. Paul Felder doesn't beat him today. And most days, Paul Felder doesn't beat him. If they fought every day between now and then, Paul Felder's getting, 30, 40 wins out of the 33, 400. It's a different guy than he was that night, just as Scully was a different guy than he was that night. Those other fights, he lost to some great fighters.
Yeah.
But this guy's serious. This is as good as they come. And I think that was just an off night for him. And when you hear about an off night for a fighter, I think that fits.
All right. Well,
that's a humiliating off night. Like epic proportions. Like in the category of like Tyson and Douglas. Like just shockingly embarrassing upset. Like the kind you wouldn't want to show your face.
No Mas.
Roberto
Duran's No Mas.
Great one.
Yeah.
By the way, Justin Gaethje is 32 and he trains with Trevor Whitman. I'm going to say he's got 3 more good years in him before the drop-off.
The over-under's 2. Jace, what are you taking?
I'm taking the over. I like Gaethje. And if you look at...
He wants +6. No. He'll take a +6 here. He wants Gaethje close to 40.
No,
5,
but also...
22,
if you look at... 21, it was the Vic fight and forward.
2.
Or no, it was the Poirier loss. Since then, he hasn't really been. He's been more calculated. So, and he's not taking as much damage as he did prior. So that's why I like him. I've seen that change. I've seen him go from, hey, I'm gonna be that human highlight reel to, okay, now I know what I have to do and I'm taking the right. I'm still being true to who he is as a fighter, but he's also making the steps to get better.
Yeah, after Gaethje lost to Alvarez and Poirier back to back, he knocked out 4 in a row and then did what everybody else on the planet Earth did, lost to Khabib. In a good fight, So, I think that you're with Trevor Whitman. We just saw what Rose did. Thug Rose came through. We saw what Usman did. I feel like Oliveira Gaethje,
I love that fight. I love that fight. I'm a fan of both guys. That's a great fight.
Usman's a bigger version of Oliveira, and that's Gaethje's sparring partner. He's in good hands.
Yeah, there's so many ways. Just when you lose Khabib and you think, oh, maybe this isn't the best division in MMA anymore. It pulls you right back in, and you have potential great fights. So I'm excited.
How much better?
I missed that comment. So you're saying Justin can't beat Father Time? Kind of obvious, don't you think? Falls off in the next year or two. You got DJ, just got his first time being dominated. What's he, 48? Yeah, some of these guys fight well into their 30s, by mid-30s, Justin Gaethje. No, it's not. It's not versus Father Time. It's versus the next. Set the over-under at 2. By the time he's 34, he will have fallen off. He'll be a different fighter on a totally different level. You know who else is at that level right now? Donald Cerrone.
Yeah, but Cerrone's 41. Ferguson's 37. These guys are honestly up there in age, and look at the difference in how many fights those two have had. You're talking about two guys who've got about 100 fights between them. Gaethje's 22-3, so he's still.
That's what makes it a bolder
shocking
prediction.
Oh yeah, no, and it's why I'm
gonna fall off at 33.
And it's why I'm gonna argue it until he loses 2 in a row. And I'm gonna be like, oh, well, actually, that'll be 3 in a row. Say he fights Oliveira and loses. right? That's coming off a Khabib loss. If he loses again 3 in a row, yeah, I'd probably say you're onto something.
That third fight will probably be Cerrone.
If he's lucky.
All right. Jared's ego's too big with all these correct predictions. Let's knock him down a peg. As Brandon Figueroa KOs Luis Ortiz.
Let's knock him down a peg.
We all
now I said this guy moving up in weight, didn't bring his pop with him. First time he didn't knock somebody out. The drug thing, then the weight thing. We're not sure how good this guy really is. I'm more sure of Figueroa, but I think if you twist my arm right now, when I had to bet, Jace, I parlayed $2.50 to win 20 on Charles Oliveira and Brandon Figueroa. Joe, you saw that ticket. So go on about the head too big and the knocking me down a big thing. I'm sorry, you were saying.
I mean, no, we all picked Neary, and Figueroa comes in and he does what he does to unify.
At game time, I picked Figueroa though. My hand forced. I took Figueroa when they were climbing in the ring.
That's what happens when Jace agrees with us on somebody. It's like, oh, well, then the smart money is definitely on the other guy. Look, to be fair, Neary dominated the fight to start. He got into some trouble in the fourth, bounced back, I thought, with a really good fifth round. Six didn't go great. Obviously, the seventh was the end, but nothing to be ashamed of if you're Neary.
Well, you got to go back down maybe, and I don't know if that's a weight cut he can make. That's the problem, is you came up, you didn't bring that pop with you, and that was the best thing you had going for you. I don't think you'll be elite at this weight class, and I don't think your body type can go back down. So, I don't know. We may have seen his best. Yeah, great showing. Great fight.
Yeah, but, I mean, Joe, you mentioned it. Neary dominated the beginning, and then Figueroa slowly took over in the 6th and 7th. So where does Figueroa, what's next for him? Where does he have to go to reach a level, to reach the top of the mountain, to get in that pound-for-pound conversation?
His next fight's probably Stephen Fulton, unification bout would be my guess. Win that and let's talk.
All right. Jared, is there anyone you want to see him fight?
Yikes. That's tough. Nera was a great I'm with Joe. Fulton and let's talk.
See, I mean,
great win. I mean, look, great win.
Tough.
Especially look, I think when you come out and you get dominated early, good fighters can turn fights around and do what Brandon Figueroa did. And so somebody just said Amanda Nunes as his next fight. I thought that's actually wouldn't you? I wouldn't mind seeing something like that at some point somewhere. But look, Figueroa was getting beat up there early on, and Neary really was controlling the fight. And this was an impressive win to come back from that and to put it on him. I like that. I want fighters. I know, Jace likes those early knockouts. He loves that kind of stuff. I like when guys duke it out. I like to see fights. I want to see it go back and forth. I want to see the heart of a champion. That's how you know what you got. I like this. A good win from Figueroa. A really good win.
Can he come up and fight Navarrete? That's what I want.
I like that. I like that a lot.
That's what I want. It's a good next test for never a test over there, too.
Yeah, these lighter weights is just, I don't know. There's not enough competition. And you need, like I've said before, you need someone to take you those take you to that next level, and so people can realize who you are. Now, do I think Brandon Figueroa has that potential? No, but still, there needs to be more people in there. These need to be talked about more. People need to just know this stuff more, I think.
I do. I think Figueroa could be an elite level fighter. I think he could get to that spot. He's not out of every fight. Not out of any fight. I mean, I wouldn't want to count him out. I think like Gary Russell is tough stylistically for him. But man, yeah, I'd love to see him fight Navarrete if he could come up.
I mean, also Figueroa's style does, I think it does lend a little bit better to the casuals, but he still does need. Who was saying it?
This guy Will Brand commenting in the comment section. There is a guy who went 8 rounds with me at Scrub Scraps too.
Wow.
That's before that's before it was really a thing. There weren't ropes, and I'd beat Joel, and he'd won his fight first round knockout against a 250-pound James Walcott. He might have been $145. He's probably 5'7". Just 8 jabs. Even told me before the fight, I want to feel what your best punches feel like. And I said, okay, I won't hit you with a lot of them in a row. But man, boom. And he'd come back to me, and I was like, you're good. Yeah, I'm good. And we did that drill maybe 25, 30 times. I mean, this kid never stopped pushing forward he's 5'8". Between rounds 7 and 8, I sat down, and Dizzle was my corner man. We've had him on the show, and he's, all right, man, you've won every round, hands down. The first round was you were feeling him out, and he was a little haywire, but it was the only one that was close. You look good out there, champ. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I went back out there like, all right, throw the jab. He slipped the jab, whack, smacked me with a right hand. And then he just missed his uppercut, which is his money shot, and hit me with a left hand. I got hit like 4 or 5 times before I was like, oh my God, I'm still in a live fight. I've told Dizzle of all the greatest corner advice you've given me. Coast through this last round with this hungry kid who's coming straight forward the whole time. We've all seen these Duran-esque. I mean, Justin Gagey is a great example of how Will Brand fights. He's going to come straight forward. You're going to feel his best stuff. He wants to feel your best stuff. If you punch me, that means you're close enough to hit. He's that guy. So, my man, shout out Will Brand. Excellent fight. But yeah, 8 rounds at Scrub Scraps too is that's a scary undertaking. We were just starting, and we're in a garage with just a rowdy bunch.
Oh yeah. All right, so let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with who you got. Attention all basketball fans. CMG Sports presents the Posting Up Podcast, where Lucas Boldick, Sean Scanlon, and Kings A discuss the latest news and topics throughout the NBA. So, if you have a love for basketball, make sure you check out the Posting Up Podcast, live every Tuesday and Saturday on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also available for download on every podcast platform. Make sure after this, around 1, you tune in to the Posting Up Podcast. Big show today. NBA playoffs start today. So make sure you check that out. And let's get into who you got this week. Talking a lot about the lightweights, especially with the Oliveira-Chandler fight. And then coming up, we'll talk about Ramirez and Taylor. But, Joe, who is the greatest lightweight combat sports athlete of all time?
Okay. Lightweight in boxing is 135 pounds. In the UFC, that's 155, which is junior middleweight. So are we talking weight or are we just talking about the weight class itself? Because if that's the case, then the answer is Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's hands down. That guy would beat anybody who's a boxer who weighs 135 pounds. That I can assure you. And he's the greatest lightweight in UFC history. So I think that's an easy answer.
I love that you said that. Because I don't think he can even really, with the weight issues he had, we're talking about the greatest in a division. I don't know if you can have Khabib be the greatest. If you guys are going to make fun of me for a Rumble for loving Anthony Johnson, then what? Khabib had, he missed weight multiple times, went to the hospital due to kidney failure. So when you're talking about the division itself and the lightweight, I don't think you can. I don't think he can be the GOAT.
Yeah, there was that fight he lost to his kidneys. Is this kid serious?
No,
there's only two answers to this question. Are you going to say Anthony Johnson, though, Jace? Don't say Anthony Johnson.
Maybe welterweight. I'll say Anthony Johnson.
Yeah, there you go.
But with his weight troubles, can you even call him a welterweight? There's only two answers to this question, so it better be the other one.
So who's your other one then, Jared?
Katie Taylor.
Shit.
That's a good answer. I was going to say Roberto Duran because as a lightweight, he was 66-1.
That's a good answer. I'll take Duran. I actually really like Diego Corrales in that conversation, but we're talking it's a GOAT conversation. I that's more of an honorable mention because I like him and not because I really want him in the conversation. You look through that list of names. Here's what you. I got it. Box rec, light. Female. Go. Okay. Melissa Saintville, Yanina Lascano, Estelle Mosley, Natasha Jones is 5. That's all time. Natasha Jones. Heather Hardy, 16. There's not even names you recognize on my here on it. Zulfaya Konsadova. I can't forget good old Zulfaya. So the point, and it's the same thing if you do it with the guys. You get Roberto Duran and 5, 6 other names you recognize, and a bunch of stuff, guys with 20, 30, 40 losses that you would never consider in this conversation. The only two logical answers. Combat sport go, especially if we're not talking about just a specific weight. Good catch, Joe. Then it's Katie Taylor or Khabib. And if you're saying something else, you've got an uphill climb with your argument.
Okay. I'm going to give you a couple other names I had.
All right. Here comes the hill.
The uphill climb.
The biggest stretch I have would be Frankie Edgar. Redeemed his loss to Gray Maynard, and he only really lost.
His what?
His loss to Gray Maynard.
No. Hang on. Everybody needs that guy that really brings them out of them and makes them great.
No.
Every great fighter needs that guy that really pushes them to the next level. And Gray Maynard.
And then lost to Ben. He said this is an honorable mention.
Oh, okay.
And he also lost to Ben Henderson, so that's why I don't put him there. Then Pernell Whitaker. One loss at lightweight to
10 title
Jose
defenses.
Luis Ramirez.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So did not have.
I had him on my honorable mention list. That was a reasonable one. You got any other garbage picks you want to throw out there before we wrap this part up?
Nope. And I would be doing myself an injustice as a Mexican American to not mention Julio Cesar Chavez, undefeated at lightweight, but he was barely there. So yeah,
But mention him anyway, and suggest because Khabib had trouble with the weight that means anything despite all the wins. But no, okay.
I mean, when you're talking about a division, a weight class, you got to bring that up. He couldn't. There were fights where he couldn't make the weight. So
half dozen fights at lightweight. Willie Pep, honorable mention.
Well, now let's get in to tonight's fights. Starting off, fight of the night. UFC fight night. Former bantamweight champ Cody Garbrandt takes on Rob Font. Joe, who you got?
Who do I got?
Who do you got?
Oh boy. I'll tell you, this fight for me, I'm gonna say Cody Garbrandt is gonna win the fight. I really see these two. It's a good fight, man. I like Rob Font a lot. He's I don't know, man. Just the knockout power that Garbrandt has. You saw it in his last fight. I just feel like, rough patch there with the Dillashaw fights, struggle with Munoz. So I think he's still a great fighter. I think he's going to come through. I think he's going to win the night, and he's going to knock Rob Font out. Third round. Done so.
Third round. Okay. Jared, you see it going the same way?
First, these guys scrap nicknames are Rob What the Font and Cody talking about clothes. Garbrandt. I like Garbrandt too. I think he's going to be a little quicker to the punch. I expect the fight to be standing up for the most part, and Cody just to be a little bit quicker, a little bit sharper. Wouldn't be surprised if he stops him. Joe said third. Give me the decision. Give me Garbrandt by decision. Talking about clothes?
I don't think this goes. It's crazy. I don't think that this is going that long. Cody Garbrandt has shown how fragile his jaw is, but he also has that knockout power. I don't think this is going to go to decision. I think someone's getting put to sleep. And I'm just going to say it's really tough because I think, I don't know. I'm going to go Garbrandt just because he does have that power. And
it would have been respectable to go against him.
UFC's bantamweight division between Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt. Let's break it down. Rob Font's 33 years old. He's 5'9" with a 71.5-inch reach and a record of 18-4 with 8 knockouts and 4 submissions. From Leominster, Massachusetts, Font got a late start in MMA, taking up Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in his late teens and becoming an amateur in 2009. He compiled a record of 3-1 before making his pro debut in 2011, winning by armbar submission in round 1. He lost his second fight by decision, but then won his next 9, 5 by stoppage, before making both his UFC and bantamweight debut in 2014, knocking out George Roop with a perfectly timed counter right cross. After knocking out Joey Gomez, he dropped a unanimous decision to John Lineker, but 7 months later, came back at the Ultimate Fighter Season 24 finale, dropping Matt Schnell with a knee to the jaw and finishing him with ground and pound. Next, he submitted Douglas De Andrade with a guillotine choke, but was then submitted himself via guillotine by Pedro Munoz at Fight Night 119. He bounced back quickly, knocking out Thomas Almeida with a head kick, but 6 months later, he was completely outclassed by Rafael Asuncao, losing by dominant unanimous decision. He came back with solid wins over Sergio Pettis and Ricky Simon, and in December 2020 scored his most significant victory to date when he dropped Marlon Moraes with an uppercut and finished him with ground and pound late in round 1. One of the most dangerous strikers in the bantamweight division, Font is tied for second for most knockouts in UFC competition in his division behind DJ Dillashaw. He utilizes his exceptionally long reach to keep his opponents at distance while averaging 5.2 strikes per minute. Cody Garbrandt is 29 years old. He's 5'7" with a 65-inch reach and a record of 12-3 with 10 knockouts. From Ericksville, Ohio, he wrestled in college but dropped out due to academic reasons. He began fighting in the amateur ranks, going 32-0 as a boxer and 6-2 in MMA before he turned pro in 2012 with a first-round knockout. He won his next 5 fights by knockout before making his UFC debut in 2015 with a third-round knockout of Marcus Brimage. After defeating Henry Briones by decision, he scored a trio of knockouts over Augusto Mendez, Thomas Almeida, and Takaya Mizugaki before taking on bantamweight champion Dominic Cruz in December of 2016. In a dominant performance, Garbrandt dropped Cruz twice and nearly finished him in the 4th round to win the title via unanimous decision. In his first defense, he took on number 1 contender DJ Dillashaw. After an explosive first round that saw Garbrandt drop Dillashaw with a perfectly timed right-hand counter, the challenger came out strong in round 2, dropping the champion twice, first with a head kick and then with a counter right hook, followed by a vicious ground and pound to force the stoppage. A year later, he attempted to win back the title in a rematch, and in a replay of the first fight, after dropping Dillashaw with a counter right, an overzealous Garbrandt rushed in, getting dropped himself, and after surviving the initial onslaught, he was knocked down again, with the fight being stopped when Dillashaw landed a knee, followed by a 4-punch combo. 8 months later, he made his return against Pedro Munoz, and in the fight of the night, Garbrandt came out strong, stunning Munoz with a flying knee, but in the middle of throwing a wild series of hooks, he was dropped heavily by a right cross and finished with ground and pound. The following year, he ended his 3-fight losing streak, knocking out Rafael Asuncao with a perfectly timed 1-punch counter right hook with 1 second remaining in round 2. A classically trained boxer, No Love is an excellent counter striker who possesses slick footwork to close the distance and a killer instinct to finish his opponents when they're stunned.
Oh, there we go.
Now that you've seen that, does it change your mind any?
No, I do want to bring up this comment.
Well, you can be a knockout artist with a glass jaw. I just wouldn't suggest it. I mean, what are you going to do?
I don't think I wouldn't say a knockout artist. He just has the power. That's a good point.
He's also
James Vick.
He hasn't been knocked out. I mean, he's taken those punches to the jaw, and then he gets ground and pounded out. I mean, just don't get hit like that. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, he takes those punches and gets put on Wobble Street.
Who doesn't? He can also put anybody in the game out with one punch.
True. Yeah. So I'm picking Garbrandt just because he's also very emotional. I don't know. This is tough for me. Because
what the font?
Yes, what the font. I'm going to go Garbrandt just because he used to be a champion. But it's rough. I think if Font can lure him into a brawl, get in his head, he'll land something to put him out. But if Garbrandt can stay, what's the word I'm looking for? You can stay level-headed, stay calm. His boxing's really good, so I think he can find an opening to put Font out.
His problem is, and where he's been, I mean, he likes to stand in the pocket and swing, and he, as you see, swings a little wildly at times. And that's where you're going to get nailed with a counter, and that's what happens. He's got to fight smarter. He's a really good, he was 32-0 as an amateur. I mean, he's a good boxer. So if you're going to box in the octagon, don't swing all wildly like you're Alistair Overeem. I mean, punch, box, really box. If he does that and doesn't get caught being all wild and crazy, he wins the fight. Font's a good enough fighter, though. I mean, if you give Font an opening, you're donezo. So he's got to fight smart. And he really, let's be honest, Garbrandt really needs this win or he becomes an afterthought.
Hey, what's another way to say Steel New Times Roman?
Rob Font.
You're welcome.
Oh, my goodness.
You are hilarious.
I'm. This is almost a year since Garbrandt last fought. I'm gonna go Garbrandt, but this is gonna be the last straw for me. If he can't get this win, I'm done with him.
You know, when I saw his fight with Dominic Cruz, I thought this is his highlight. This is the climactic event for him, and he hasn't done anything to disprove that.
Oh my God. You know, I remember watching that fight and thinking this kid was the future of that division. And
he's like dancing and stuff.
Oh man, dude. And and he tripped him at one point. It was, no, I thought this kid was like hot shot, man. I was like, dude, Garbrandt is going to be running that division for a low. He's not. Crazy how quick, but again, you fight sloppy, you're setting your opponent up to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in huge windows with his quickness, his speed, his hands, his boxing background, you'd think he'd close those windows, and he ends up, with these huge opportunities to knock him out. And when he should be those little short, sharp, Andrade stuff we're talking about. I expected more from him too after that Cruz fight than I got in the Dillashaw fights. But didn't Dillashaw fail drug tests after that too?
Yes, he did.
To be fair, so I don't know. Maybe it's good. It remains to be seen. He needs to win this fight if he's going to remain relevant.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think he's 29. He's 29 years old. So, I mean, he's still, if he does get back on the right track, he can get back to the top of the mountain. But I just think I'm struggling so hard because he's so emotional. And Tony said it best. When he smells blood, he gets carried away, rushes in, chin up. He's like a shark, but when he does stay calm, when he does get in the flow of things, like we saw in that Cruz fight, he was fluid. In the flow, fluid, yes, and he got the knockout.
Like water.
Yes. But, all right, let's get into the real big fight. Lightweight unification bout. Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor. Tony is going to give us the tale of the tape.
Guys, tonight on ESPN, we have one of the most important fights of the year as all 4 junior welterweight belts are on the line between champions Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. Let's break it down. Jose Ramirez, 28 years old. He's 5'10" with a 72.5-inch reach and a record of 26-0 with 17 knockouts. From Avenal, California, Ramirez was a highly decorated amateur, winning several National Golden Gloves tournaments and the United States National Amateur Championships to qualify to represent the United States at the 2012 Olympics. After getting eliminated in the quarterfinals and amassing a record of 32-8, he turned pro later that year with a first-round TKO. After going 15-0 with 12 knockouts, he won his first belt, the Continental Americas Junior Welterweight title, with a unanimous decision over Johnny Garcia. He defended that belt 5 times with a decision over Manuel Perez and knockouts over Thomas Mendez and Mike Reed before defeating Amir Imam for the vacant WBC Junior Welterweight World title. In his first defense, he took on number 3 Antonio Orozco in what turned out to be a slugfest that saw Ramirez drop Orozco twice en route to unanimous decision. For his next defense, he took on number 14 Jose Zepeda, and in a surprisingly competitive fight, the champion actually lost the early rounds before making adjustments and landing thunderous power shots down the stretch to pull out a majority decision. In 2019, he fought a unification fight with WBO champion Maurice Hooker, and despite dropping Hooker in round 1, Ramirez found himself in another dogfight until he was able to catch Hooker with a right-left combo that stunned him and left him unable to defend himself as Ramirez's onslaught forced the referee to step in. In 2020, he fought wily veteran Victor Postal and found himself soundly outclassed for the first 5 rounds until he picked up the pace and ramped up his body assault down the stretch. After 12 evenly fought rounds, Ramirez was able to walk away with a majority decision. A frenetic pressure fighter, Ramirez does his best work in a phone booth, pounding away at the body to set up his best punch, his left hook. Though he can often be outboxed by a tactician, his greatest strength lies in his ability to make adjustments mid-fight and come on strong down the final stretch. Josh Taylor, 30 years old. He's 5'10" with a 69.5-inch reach and a record of 17-0 with 13 knockouts. From Prestonpans, Scotland, Taylor took up boxing at 15 and winning a silver medal in the Commonwealth Games in 2010. In 2012, he became the first Scottish boxer to qualify for the Olympics since 1960, though he lost in the quarterfinals to Domenico Valentino. After winning gold in the Commonwealth Games in 2014 and having amassed a record of 49-22, he turned pro in 2015 with a second-round knockout. He won his first 9 fights with 8 knockouts before taking on WBC silver champ O'Hara Davies, dropping him in the 3rd and twice more in the 7th before the referee stepped in and stopped the contest. For his first defense, he took on former lightweight champion Miguel Vasquez, and despite some trouble in the early rounds, Taylor's body attack proved too much as he dropped Vasquez, who was unable to beat the count. After a quick knockout of Winston Campos and a decision over Victor Postal, Taylor entered the World Boxing Super Series, first outclassing Ryan Martin en route to a 7th-round stoppage, and then dominating champion Ivan Baranchyk, scoring 2 knockdowns to win a unanimous decision in the IBF junior welterweight title. In the series final, he took on WBA champion Regis Prograis in what was widely regarded as one of the year's best fights, as both men put on masterful performances of both skill and will, with Taylor just edging him out for the majority decision. He followed that up with a first-round demolition of Thailand's Apanam Kongsong, knocking out the challenger with a perfectly timed left hook to the ribs. One of the most talented fighters to come out of Great Britain in the last decade, Taylor is equally as skilled outboxing his opponents from the outside as he is at breaking them down on the inside. He uses a solid jab and excellent footwork to get in his opponent's guard, and then a mix of hooks and uppercuts to keep them guessing. Though primarily a southpaw, Taylor will on occasion switch stances and is one of the most relentless and prolific body punchers in the game. Will the constant pressure and body shots of Ramirez be too much, or will the slick movement and power shots of Taylor win the day? Tune in tonight for Taylor versus Ramirez for the undisputed junior welterweight world title.
Jared, who
Well
will
done,
be?
Tony.
Yes, Tony does great with those. But Jared, who will be the unified lightweight champion after tonight?
I want to tell the fans that these are our guys. Do not miss this. Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Duran. Do you remember? For those of you who go back and remember what it was like to watch those guys fight, Maurice Hooker is our Tommy Hearns. Prograis is our Sugar Ray Leonard. Josh Taylor is our Hagler, and Jose Ramirez is our Duran. If you want to see those kinds of fights, watch these guys fight one another. That is what we are getting. I have so much trouble calling this fight. Josh Taylor outpoints him and wins by decision, or Jose Ramirez does the same thing he's done over and over and loses the first half of the fight and wears on you and wears on you and wears on you. Josh Taylor by decision. But man, this is I didn't know what I was going to say when the show started. This is one of the hardest fights I've had to call. I'm not shocked if Ramirez takes it, and I haven't put anything on it because I'm not comfortable with either guy. This is going to be a great fight. Tune in for this one.
Yeah, Ramirez is such a great fighter. William Brand just brought up if you can get inside. I think what you're going to find is, and I think where the trouble's going to be for Ramirez is that you're going to find in the tail of the tape, you heard he struggles with boxing technicians, compounded by the fact Josh Taylor is a lefty, something that Ramirez hasn't faced a whole lot in his career. The way Josh Taylor cuts off the ring is masterful. I think right now he's the best in the game at doing that.
Is he going to be moving forward against Ramirez, though?
Here's what's going to happen. No mas for your boy Ramirez, right? He's your Duran. There you go. I think Taylor will break him down. I'll tell you another thing. For anybody who wants to be a boxer, watch this fight and learn what going to the body is about, because these two guys absolutely love pounding the body. Josh Taylor's won several of his fights on body shots. One of the things about Ramirez I don't know that I love, I mean, for a righty, he really doesn't throw a lot of right. He loves throwing that left, a lot of double jab, and then the big left hook. And so, again, I sort of think that that's a fighter like Josh Taylor. I think you're sort of playing into his hand there, too. So I'm going to say 10th round, Josh Taylor puts him away. I think Ramirez he's taken too many body shots. Josh Taylor wins the fight.
This is a tough fight. I don't see a finish. Like, both these guys are too good. This is going to this judges' scorecards. And, I mean, the investment to the body, that's going to be big. I mean, taking those body shots really wears someone down. But this is so hard. I'm gonna go just the opposite side. I'm gonna go Jose Ramirez. I think Josh Taylor's gonna win the first couple fights. I mean, the first couple rounds. But Ramirez, he's very good at changing up the game plan, realizing what he's doing wrong, switching it up. And I think he will. I think he will be able to get to the body, wear Josh Taylor down, and then start unloading. I don't see this getting a finish at all, though. This is going to be a battle, and Jared said it right off the rip. Like, this is a great fight. You need to tune in. You go tell your grandma, go tell your brother, go tell your sister, go tell your neighbor. Watch this fight. It's going to be a great fight.
Do yourself a favor. Watch Hagler Duran before this fight. You're going to, I'll bet you it's like you're watching the same fight, close decision, Josh Taylor.
When the last time we talked about Josh Taylor on this show, I said he needed a fight to put himself on the map in the United States of America. And judging by all the BS I've seen on ESPN this week, it's definitely there. I mean, you know, Ramirez has the better reputation here, the better known guy. I think Taylor has a statement to make, and I believe he makes it tonight. And I think in the 10th round, is where you see the kind of damage this guy can do to you.
His nickname's Great Blessing. Regis, Great Blessing Progress. Just if you're keeping track at home.
But I mean, this whole lightweight division is something we don't see in boxing. It was there were fights in between, but it was like a tournament. We saw Hooker versus Ramirez. We saw Prograis versus Taylor. And eventually the winners are fighting each other. This is something we need a lot more. I hate that there were people in between, but it still got its way to the end. Now let's just take out those small little road bumps. Straight shot. That's what boxing
Who comes out of this? If it's one of those four or somebody else, who comes out of this? I've got somebody else. Virgil Ortiz Jr. will beat all four of these guys.
All right. We'll see.
I don't think so.
You don't like that?
I don't think so. 3 out of 4 ain't bad, like Meatloaf said.
Let me sleep on it. I'll tell you who's going to win in the morning.
I love it.
Regardless, I'm excited. But before we get to the Scrub Strap Spotlight for today, introducing new segment, Fight of the Night. We talked about 2 fights. But Jared, what's another fight that should be on people's radar going into tonight?
River Wilson Bent. Undefeated boxer. Good jab, good counter puncher, mediocre defense. And George Farrell, another undefeated fighter, mediocre defense. These guys will hit each other a lot. Ben will knock him out, but it's going to be a great fight. It's the first guy of any caliber that either one's fought. They're on different levels. I think Ben is a significantly better fighter, but he's going to have to teach Farrell how to lose, and he's going to get hit a few times doing it. So that'll be a really fun fight. River, Wilson, Ben is the guy you're watching there.
I'm excited for the middleweight fight on the undercard tonight between Edmund Shabazian and Jack the Joker Hermanson. I love that fight, baby. I think that could be an absolute banger, and I'm excited for it.
I got Justin Taffa, 4-2. He's a beast. He's a guy that he leaves his car running because it's going to be a short night when he's in there. And he's going up against Jared Vanderaa. I think this is – I don't see the Vanderaa doing that much. He's going to go look for the takedowns, but I don't think he gets it. I think Taffa's going to put him to sleep early. But it's going to be – they're heavyweights. They're going to throw. People are going to get hit, but it's going to end early. Taffa versus Vanderaa, that's going to be a great fight just before the co-main event on the main card. So make sure you check that out. But now, here's a little preview of who we're going to have on the Scrub Shop Spotlight.
Like that. Nice. Double it up like that. Open them up, bro. Don't punch it, right? There you go. See? Keep that jab on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good or no? Come on, Frankie. You got it.
Body shot, Frank. Body.
Hit him in the body, Frank. Yeah.
Body shot, Frank.
Body that shit. Back up. Use your reach. Keep that face him out. There you go. There you go. Good movement. Keep that jab pumping. Keep your hands up. Hands up. Nice slip. What is that? Come on, Frankie. 1 minute. Drop that left. Hit him on the right. What? Nice. Get your distance again. Get your distance. Get your jab up. Use your reach.
That body, Frank. That body, Frank.
Pump the jab. Come on, Frankie. Hit that body. Circle out. Circle out. Hit that body, bro. Get to the center of the ring. Hands up, Jordan. 30 seconds. Come on now, man. That's it. That's it.
There we go.
Frankie, you ain't got this. That's all I could think the whole time. Frankie, you don't got this, bro. Wow. Jordan, that was great.
Thank you. I can't help but notice, Jared, you didn't put our fight. You didn't like that first right hand I gave you?
Oh,
you didn't like that gift I handed you? Silver platter was just
come up. I wondered if that was going to come up. Since I'm getting rolled under the bus, I have to say that Joel was on the flyer. Little no-show for our boy Jordan here. I don't blame him. First 20 seconds of the fight, I rotated. I didn't expect him to be moving like a middleweight, to be honest. And rotated right into the right hand. I mean, Trin's running around out there, and I did a full squat. And butt hit my heels and then came back up. Technically not a knockdown, but I would have been perfectly comfortable with an 8 count. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that should have happened and actually would have made the fight a draw if I'd ended up with an 8 count there. It's as hard as I've ever been hitting a scrub scrap. I should have had the 8 count.
Did Mark Breland bring you your water that day too, or? It's like Jordan seems like a lot of excuses. I had the kids running around.
No. I'm saying he almost turned the lights out, and my family and friends
I got that.
I almost went to sleep. Let me tell you something. Jordan, in his first fight, he was a little overwhelmed by punches in the first round. Second round was probably close. Third round came out, and the other kid just gassed completely. And I thought Jordan was like struck by the moment. Wanted him to push forward, put a little pressure on, just show he'd won the fight. Didn't happen. Kind of a slow third round. It resorted to the first. I think Chris ended up winning the fight.
Yeah. He did.
And this like growth of this fighter that like turned into like an actually good fighter, and then into our fight. And I remember thinking afterward, if Jordan was about hurting his friends, if Jordan didn't mind putting me to sleep in front of my family, that is exactly where I would have been. No excuses. I pull no punches. He watched the video. He let me out of that first round. I got an 8 count late, and like close fight. There was another knockdown at the end of the fight that I like hit the wood, but a punch landed. And another thing that could have been, I'm like, hey, you give him both of those. You give him the 8 count early and the knockdown late. It's a win. Like those points, mean something. So very close fight, as close as I've been to lights out in a scrub scrap, and as tough as they come. from the powder puff marshmallow that we got when you showed up. Excuse me, don't mean to throw you out there, but brother.
It's fine.
It's a monster now. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that jab. Did you see that head movement? James Toney, yeah. Chris Bird. Who is this kid? So how you been, Jordan? Doing good, man?
I'm good. I learned from the best. But Joel's not here, so I got to settle for you.
Yes.
No, I got nothing for
you.
2-0
with a knockout. Yeah, man. You already know. So, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, I know, as far as physical activity goes, you've had some struggles between here and there. How did scrub scraps and literally learning to fight help you fight in other areas of your life?
I mean, I definitely kind of took it as, you think back to the amount of time and dedication it goes into, not even just for scraps, but if you go up to the professional boxing and professional fighters, of being dedicated and sticking to it and trying to stick through whatever comes your way, whether that's a right hand from the guy sitting across the ring from you, or medical nonsense that I went through, and you can't get through it if you don't move through it. If you stick like a stick in the mud, it's not just going to come to you. You got to fight for it. So, going from the highlights we just saw, which was my last fight, and I'm in the worst, maybe not fighting shape of my life, but like physically the worst shape of my life. Open wounds and losing blood and like all this other crazy medical stuff going on. And, having to go from that, and then 3 months later, I'm in the hospital for 2.5 years. So, definitely taking what I learned and even the little bit of training that we went through and taking it and running with it, and kind of keeping that mentality for the whole time. And that's definitely what got me to where I am now. I only make fun of you in the beginning. I gotta boost you up a little bit afterwards.
I knew it was gonna get real. We got our laughs out.
So Jordan, what got you to scrub scraps in the first place? And also, were you boxing in jeans? Because I imagine that had to be tough.
Okay, so I forgot my shorts. So I just rocked the jeans and ran with it. But so the first kid I fought, we were talking about Chris. was my best friend since middle school, and he comes up to me one day and it's like, "Hey, my older brother's doing this thing, and like he's gonna go box. You should come watch and come check it out." I'm like, "Okay, that's." I'm thinking like big building and all this other stuff, and I get there and it's just this weird garage on the side of the road with a bunch of drunk morons just chilling, staring into this dark area, and I was hooked. And 2 sessions later, I end up fighting Chris and taking the L. But it's a funny story because he and I had an agreement of like we're both very out of shape. There's no beat around the bush. Nothing. We've never ran. I walked the mile in high school. Never ran that. We'll take it easy. We'll feel it out. See how the punches go, and then we'll start to pick it up. And he came out swinging in the first round and completely threw me off. And I don't hold it against him, but I definitely came back for that second fight, and I was like, I'm not holding it this time, and I won that second fight. But
the rematch, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just having the one invite, just, hey, do you want to come out? And met Jared, met the family the first time, and that was it. It was hooked.
That's one of my favorite parts of that is the growth between the first fight with Chris and the second fight with Chris. You show up to the training, you learn the techniques, you get your body in shape, and you get better. Mm-hmm. And that's never more evidenced than when you fight someone a second time and they're still the same person and you've gone through that growth process. Looking at that last fight, like that's it. If the Jordan that showed up the first scrub were to jump the Jordan that fought Frank, there better be 4 or 5 of him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Honestly.
a totally different, it's a completely different person. Even the guy I fought, you're coming to me to train, and then you're training on the side, and you're getting yourself in shape, and you're doing these, for your size, these is as amazingly athletic things that, caught everybody off guard. That head movement there at the end, you got, man. That was your growth process. Has been really fun to watch, brother.
Yeah, and I'm excited to get back to it. Coming out of all the medical nonsense going on and trying to drop 60 pounds now for medical reasons, but also for personal reasons. And, trying to come back and get back into scrap and just get myself together. I bought my own hand wraps because I never had those. Not wearing jeans anymore. Shorts only.
I love it.
Well, it gives you that drive. It's motivation when you're like, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. You know that you're going to be on full blast in this, hypersensitive situation, and you want to be ready for it. You automatically start to go through preparation processes that you don't do every day.
Yeah,
it became a reason not to drink and to jog and to all these things that are healthy for you, but you're doing it because I don't want to get my ass whipped. It's a totally different motivation than, I've got a little extra
something.
Yeah, some armpit stuff I'd like to get rid of. Like that's not as motivating as ending up in the ring with somebody.
Yeah, I could definitely attest to that. Because the cardio is still not great, but it's better than it was that first fight versus the last. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Because I was gassed after 30, 40 seconds, and then this time ended up going the full round and it was fine.
Oh yeah.
Oop.
Jordan, what is your mindset when you are in the scrub straps? Like, what's going through your mind?
Not as much as you think. That's
a good answer.
It's so I have to bring back the conversation I had with Chris versus he's like, I don't want to fight my friends and stuff and things. And granted, no, I don't want to fight my friends outside of that setting, but we step in the ring and we're not friends. And it's, I even just walking up to the ring to get in, it's, stay calm, try to stay cool, and figure it out. And that's it. That's the whole thing. And, it's their right punch or the right hook hurts really hard. Got to watch out for that. And then it's blank until something else happens. And I think that definitely helps me to absorb the information more instead of getting into my own head and trying to plan everything. Because, Jared, I think you told me, I don't remember who said the quote, but, you can only plan a fight until you get hit for the first time, and then the whole plan goes out the window.
Oh, Tyson. Everybody's got to point until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah,
it's Mike Tyson. Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, tired makes bitches out of everybody.
So it's definitely just get in and just don't get in your own head. Figure it out and literally roll with the punches.
Life lessons. There's life lessons in there for sure. Yeah, literally rolling with the punches. Yep. And Joe, you talked about that kind of information slowing down for you while you were in there, and not really thinking too many other things outside of like Walter.
Jordan, it's funny. I talk about this every time we have a scrapper on, but the first time he hit me in the face, I say this every time. Everything slowed down, and I was like, "All right, that's not happening again." I think I get how this works, and then he hit me again, and I was like, "All right, I got to start doing some stuff here." Because we had talked about it beforehand, right? I mean, you get hit in the face, and your natural reaction is to just start swinging. Right. Or to fall back on the ground and into the fetal position, but
fight or flight.
Yeah. So it's one or the other. And, it's I say this, the more we were going at it, and we didn't have a timed round. It was just I'm dancing and I'm like, oh, my God, how long is this going to go? I better start hitting him some, too. And once it just got slow. And I was kind of like, I was able to see things coming at me. And I don't know. There was just something about it. I've been in fights before, and I've never been in a fight where it's slowed down. And I was like, all right, I'm going to pick a spot. I'd never been in a real fight like that before. So it was interesting to be in one like that. And to be, in a controlled environment and to know that my proper reflexes jumped in. I still don't know what would happen in a real fight, though.
Yeah, getting caught outside, it's different.
Yeah, that ability to kind of slow it down, isn't that what we need in our life? We start reacting to things and just doing what we're conditioned to do, and our brain starts playing tricks on us because it just feels safe or comfortable. We can't change, and fear and all of that stuff. And Jordan's talking about going in there and just stay calm, stay cool. Don't be totally reactive. You get into that fight or flight mode, you're just going to get hit more.
Yep.
You've got to do the things that make sense to do. Slow it down and do the things that make sense.
Absolutely.
Now, Jordan, what would you say is the biggest difference between Jordan before Scrub Scraps and Jordan after Scrub Scraps?
Five surgeries and 100 pounds. I mean, mentally, it's almost hard to describe. I know I feel a different way coming out of Scrub Scraps versus going in, because I took it in the intro as just, a bunch of guys getting together and punching each other. And yeah, that happens. But it's so much more than that, and having an appreciation for the growth that people put in and seeing that change not only in myself but in other people, and being able to support that and support them. You kind of it changed the mentality on situations like that and fighting as a whole. And being able to not only, get in the ring and punch your friends, but support them in and out of it, and build this massive support system, and being able to talk about things, and not just on the fighting side, but personal stuff, going through feelings and things like that. And I think it helped me become it definitely helped me become a better person, but it's hard to quantify that into words. If you knew who I was beforehand, going into meeting Jared for the first time and kind of being inducted into this family versus now, 4 or 5-ish years later, I know I've changed positively, but it's almost hard to wrap my head around how. I know it's been a great experience, and I all the things that have led me up to, being even on this podcast have been great, mostly. Punches still hurt. Punches do still hurt.
Now, I got to go back quick to my Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You guys remember the triangle? He just described it. Bottom level, food, water, warmth, and rest. You need those things satisfied if you're going to worry about anything else. Food, water, warmth, and rest. You can't really give too much of that stuff in a therapeutic setting. The next one's safety and security. You guys remember this, Cuddle the Bear, right? Safety and security. Now, I'm able to give that. How do you give that as a conventional therapist? I've given him a way to feel safe and secure in his life. Safety and security. The next one up, third one, is intimate relationships. Those are right there with other people experiencing some of the same struggles you are. And then prestige and self-actualization. That's the final step in our hierarchy of human behavior. We want to have all that other stuff satisfied. And he's describing other people as scrubs, and how watching their growth and being able to be a part of that and how fulfilling that is. And that's self-actualization. You can't do that if you don't feel safe and secure. You're not capable of that if you live with the bear. Man, that was beautiful, brother. That was beautiful, Jordan. Thank you, man.
Thanks for being able to put that into words, because you and I have talked about it personally, and I got this weird, I can't even say it's weird. I have all this love for, like, you and your family and the Scraps life and experience, that it feels like the Grinch. Your heart grew 3 sizes, and then but you don't have a quantifiable way to express it. And you really just broke it down and put it into words. But it all comes back to being able to have such a positive experience. And with everybody who's shown up, keyword being who's shown up. But
we miss you, Joel.
But no, it feels good to be a part of such an experience, and have it not just be, the punching aspect is the least important part of it. That's what you're there for, but that's not even remotely close to what all that is. It's a positive, expanding experience, giving you something new to do. I'd been in one street fight before that, and I was like 7. So that doesn't even remotely count, and I never threw a punch. But coming now 20 years later, and then having the knowledge and the experience of going through all of this, and the training, and meeting all these people, and just having a great time doing it, and being able to take those experiences and transfer them to something quantifiable in life, and take that, and regardless of if I fight again or not, for the rest of my life, that's an experience that I'll have and I can call back on to use in future endeavors. And I owe that all to some kid telling me, hey, let's go get punched in the face.
That was eloquent, brother.
Sometimes.
Wow.
Sometimes the words
Very
can come
nicely
out.
said. Yeah, no, man, that's beautiful. It's a lot of the things I keep saying, that kids like us show up for the punches. We don't know we're going to get all the other stuff when we get there. We just show up for the punches. I went to the gym because I wanted to fight somebody, anybody. I just wanted to know where the punches were going to come from. I figured that was better than every other aspect of my life if I just knew where the punches were coming from. And get something different when you're there. You start building all those other layers, and it's something that ought to be available to everyone.
Yeah, honestly.
Oh yeah. You guys, go ahead, Jason.
Joe, you got anything you want to say?
No. Well, I guess Jordan, how much do you miss just getting in there and going at it? I mean, I want to do it so bad, and I'm dying for things to open up so I get in there and stick and move with Jared a little bit. Yeah. Are you looking to get back?
Absolutely. Like I said, I bought some hand wraps and trying to. It's as much as I love the emotional aspect that I just went through. Yeah, I do miss the punching. Being able to grow myself in a quantifiable way. I say that word a lot, I guess, but having a tangible way to physically grow my abilities and having a way to measure that. You go back and look at footage. You go back and we talk about past fights and what went wrong and what went right and how things moved and worked and I really enjoy that aspect of it as well, despite I've only watched maybe one professional boxing match in my life, and I miss that feeling. I do miss having the ability to go in and be able to do something to my fullest ability and not have to hold back for it. And getting something for myself out of it and for other people. So, if you want to just open up a gym real quick, I'm ready. I got, you could just move this along a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of
Working on it.
Take a long time there, guy.
Yeah, I know. There's, I get a lot of that. And we're working on it, brother, fast as we can. We got a request to expedite in for the 501c3, and we've already got the exemption from USA Boxing. So we've already got things that no other boxing program in the world has. We are something that nobody else is, and we're on our way, brother. I promise you that.
Can't wait.
Hell yeah. So, Jordan, thanks for joining us. Love talking to you. Love hearing your story. And that's going to do it for Throwing Jabs this week. Make sure you tune in next week. Make sure you watch tonight's fights. They're big fights. And make sure you like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. And check out clovercrestmedia.com for a bunch more podcasts, over 30 now. So any type of podcast, anything you like, doesn't have to be sports. Make sure you check out clovercrestmedia.com. For myself, Big Jace, Joe Aguirre, Jared Jones, and Jordan, thanks for coming again. We'll see you next time for more Throwing Jabs. Peace out.
Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clovercrest, top three corner man, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, locked it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut got you missing weight, feet are stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint from a feint. Take a stand and eight, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing. Counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bringing crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry, it's curtains. From scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts. Cause the best combat podcast is Throwing Jabs.